Well, I have a pretty bold statement, and it's probably going to get me in trouble with the minimalism crowd, but I would encourage you not to shy away from decluttering your sentimental items first. I know, shocking. Let's talk more about that coming up next. Well, hello friend, I'm Mary Beth from the AtWhatCostBlog.com, where we are reclaiming abundant living by reducing the amount of things in our homes and living a more simplified lifestyle, because we know that when we have less stuff, we have more room for Jesus. Let's talk more about this bold statement that I made of decluttering your sentimental items first or along the way. Now, there is a reason behind that. Sentimental items come in all shapes and sizes. You may have a coffee mug, you may have a piece of jewelry, perhaps it's an article of clothing, or maybe it's just like mine, boxes of shame, time capsules of crap that maybe your parents have just dropped in your lap and said, here are your memories. But either way, we're going to encounter sentimental items as we declutter throughout our home. Now, it's very true, you really do need to build up some decluttering muscles before it may be easy for you to part with items. But I think if we frame the way that we're thinking about things, we might be able to get some of these items decluttered as we go, or at least set ourselves up for an easier time when we decide to sit down and tackle them. Let's talk now about how our decluttering of sentimental items relates to biblical living. So our reading today is going to be found in Joshua chapter 4, and we're going to start kind of mid-verse in verses 6 and 7. What we see here is that Joshua has just led the Israelites over the crossing of the Jordan, which was no easy feat. And again, God was faithful to his promises, and they were able to persevere. And once they reached the other side of the Jordan, he gathers up 12 men and says, each of you take up a stone upon his shoulder according to the number of the tribes of people of Israel, that this may be a sign among you. When your children ask in the time to come, what do these stones mean to you? Then you shall tell them that the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it passed over the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. So these stones shall be to the people of Israel a memorial forever. I really got to thinking about all of the things that I'm hanging on to. This mess in this room, the most appropriate way to memorialize the things that have meant so much to me during different phases of life. So back in October, I joined a private Facebook group that was offered by the Minimal Mom. And recently, as part of the membership in that group, we had an opportunity to do some guided decluttering, and I was able to share my experience with my sentimental items and really glean a lot of wonderful advice from Dawn at the Minimal Mom. And so I wanted to dive into our sentimental items today and talk through some of the issues that we've had. So there are a few things that we should be asking ourselves when we start to tackle our sentimental items. The first is, what's the motivation behind keeping this item? Now, am I keeping it because it has a sweet memory? When I look at the item or hold it, I remember something about myself. Is it something that I remember about someone else? Am I keeping it out of guilt or shame of getting rid of it? Maybe I spent money on it, or it might be useful, or maybe the person that gave it to me, I think, would be upset that I'm getting rid of it. I don't want to feel guilty when I hang on to these items. So I have a box here of things. There's some things in here that I'm keeping because they were given to me or they're part of my history. So for example, I have this sweet little dress. So my dad was in the Navy, and he was actually deployed right before I was born, and he was gone for 6 months. And so the first time he saw me, I was wearing this dress. And I know that was such a special memory for my mom, but it's also a special memory for me. And so that's something I want to hang on to. This is a memory for myself, but it's also something that helps me to remember someone else. Now, this next item, and I actually have a similar item, my grandmother and great-grandmothers both were knitters and crocheters, and so they made these baby blankets for myself, and this little one is for my dolls. This holds another sweet memory of someone else for me, and so that's something I'd like to hang on to as well. But do I need both of them? I don't really remember using this one. It may be special to my mom. I don't want to hang on to something because I feel guilty. That doesn't bring sweet memories for anyone. I also have all of our engagement pictures. Although this was not my anticipated Pinterest perfect engagement shoot, they are some really special photos for me to hang on to. But do I need the locket size? Do I need multiples of these? No, I really just need to pick my favorites, hang on to those, and put them in a photo album. And the same goes for greeting cards. This is a baby picture of mine. I actually still have this little locket that I'm wearing in this picture, and so that's a sentimental item I plan to hang on to. We're going to talk about jewelry in an upcoming episode, so be sure you've subscribed to that so that you can see all of the upcoming videos that we publish. And if you hit the little bell icon, you'll be notified anytime we upload new videos. But you can see this picture has seen better days. And I have a copy from the same photo shoot that's in a little bit better condition. Now, I mentioned earlier that I had been really inspired by Dawn from The Minimal Mom. And one of the things that she has said that just really stuck with me when it came to sentimental items is that if everything is special, then nothing is special. That really resonated with me. I have so many things, but if I store everything, then it's all equal in measure, and that's just not true. There are things that I really want to remember from a time in my life, like my wedding pictures, but there are other things from a time in my life that I just don't need anymore. So the next thing you'll want to consider is how best to store these items. It may be a photo album or perhaps a memory box. That was another thing that came out of my decluttering session, was that I could create a memory box for myself. I had never thought about cultivating those items for myself. That's something that I thought someone would create for you and then hand over to you and say, here are all of your memories. And that's just not the truth. You know, I have a box for my boys that I keep their special artwork or any other special items that I have for them, but I had never considered doing that for myself. And so that's my strategy here. I'm going to pick a clear tote so that I can see all of the things in it, and it'll give me some boundaries so that when I fill it, I know those are the most special things. And if something new comes along that I want to add to the collection, I've got to consider the other items in there before I put it in there as well. It has to fit in the boundaries that I've established. Now, in our story from Joshua, the Israelites set up that monument so that not only the generation that experienced it would remember it, but generations to come. So as we consider our sentimental items, we want to look at the things that we have and remember the way that God's been faithful to us. And so it's important that I hang on to those things, not just for myself, but for generations to come. I don't want to hang on to a bunch of stuff that I then dump in their laps and say, here you go, figure out what you want to do with it. I don't want to hand around a box of guilt or have everyone else keep a room of shame because I want something remembered or I just feel too guilty to part with it. Just like the Israelites, the sentimental items that we keep, we want to show the faithfulness that God has had in our lives, the joy that we've shared, and even things that we determine are special about us or to us that we can pass on to another generation. I'd love for you to leave a comment below and let me know the things that you'll hang on to, the things that you feel ready to part with, or maybe just share a special story of an item that holds a lot of memory to you or shows God's faithfulness. And again, I'd love for you to subscribe so that we can spend some more time together, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.